first assault. Okay, the morning of February 14th, 1979. So this is how they did it. And I think this is pretty interesting because it kind of showed the tactics that were involved, right? So basically, they went in and they here we go. I'll just read it. On the morning of February 14, 1979, the Organization of Iranian People's Fidel guerrillas stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran and took a Marine named Kenneth Krause hostage. Ambassador William H. Sullivan surrendered the embassy to save lives, and with the assistance of Iranian Foreign Minister Abraham Yazdi, returned the embassy to U.S. hands within 3 hours. Cross, injured in the attack, kidnapped by the militant, tortured, tried, and convicted of murder. He was to be executed with President Carter and Sullivan's security was released within 6 days. The incident became known as the Valentine's Day Open House. Second embassy assault. So the next attempt to seize the American embassy was planned for September 1979 by Abraham Azar a student at the time. He consulted with the head of the Islamic Association in Tehran, main university, including the University of Tehran, Saref University, University of Technology, Polytechnic of Tehran, and Iran University of Science and Technology. They named their group Muslim student followers of Imam Line. As Sadat later said that there were 5 students, right? So this student at the time, the next attempt to seize the American embassy was planned on September 19th, 1979. So February, you know, I guess Americans were able to conduct business as usual. And then they did it again in September, right? This time by Abraham Asghar Zadai. So I guess, you know, they did it once. They had like an itch or something, and they went for it again. A student at the time, he consulted with the head of Islamic Association of Tehran and University. You know what I mean? So I guess like they weren't afraid of the Americans because the Americans wouldn't like they weren't aggressive, right? Um, Obviously, they have a lot of education. University of Tehran, University of Technology. Okay, Oscar Sada later said that there were 5 students in first meeting to whom wanted to target the Soviet embassy because the USSR was a Marxist and anti-God regime. 2 others, Mohsen Mahdi, supported Asghar Sadat, chosen target the United States. So they were going to choose the Soviet embassy, but then the 2 other uh, outvoted the guy, chose the United States. Our aim was to object against American Western by going to the embassy and occupy it for several hours. Right, that's what he said. Sagar uh, Zadai said, announcing that our objection from within the occupied compound will carry our message to the world in a much more firm and effective way. Mar Marda Mardamadi told the interviewer we intended to detain the diplomats for a few days and maybe even 1 week, but no more. So they went in there and they're like, yeah, you know what? We're just going to be here for a couple of days, not to be afraid, right? Spokeswoman Iran students during the crisis said that those who rejected did not participate in the subsequent event. students observed seizure of the Marine security guards from nearby rooftops overlooking the embassy. They also drew on their experience from recent revolution during which the embassy grounds were briefly occupied. They enlisted to support of the so they enlisted the support of the police officer in charge of guarding the embassy in the Islamic Revolution. So, so basically, the embassy had Islamic Revolutionary Guards to protect the embassy, but they enlisted the support of the police officer that was guarding the embassy. So they had moles as Garzadai and other senior organizers, including Abbas Badai and Mohsen Madamadi. Now, professor of political science rejected claims that Ayatollah Rada Khomeini had orchestrated or instructed them to carry out the attack. The students had wanted to inform him, but according to the author, Mark Bowden and Altoya, Muhammad Kohina persuaded him not to do so. Kohina feared the government would use the police to expel the students as they had occupied in February. The provisional government had been appointed Khomeini, so that Khomeini was likely to go along with the government request to restore order. On the other hand, Konida knew that if Khomeini foresaw the occupier were faithful supporters of him, unlike the leftists in the first occupation, and that large numbers of pious Muslims had gathered outside the embassy to show their support for the takeover. It would be very hard, perhaps even impossible, for him to oppose a takeover, and would paralyze Bargo John administration, which Koiniha and the students wanted to eliminate. Supporters of the takeover stated that their motivation was fear of another American-backed coup against the Popular Revolution.